What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I want to show you guys Bernie Sanders, his response to yesterday's bombshell coming from Senator Manchin. I won't even call it a bombshell because we kind of knew Senator Manchin where he was going when it came to this Build Back Better plan. But Senator Bernie Sanders has a response, so I want to play that. He did respond yesterday, and so this was on the State of the Union yesterday on CNN. And so we're going to play that. But first off, on this channel, we talk about financial news and more. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you also see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so we know Build Back Better. It looks like at this point it has been derailed. I don't think we'll see Build Back Better anytime soon. And that's very, very unfortunate. But we have Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema, if you want to call her out as well. They're in opposition to Build Back Better. And Senator Manchin yesterday put it out there saying he's a no. So he's not even at this point. It doesn't even look like he's open to negotiating. And there was talk. Sources are saying that President Biden was trying to reach out to Senator Manchin yesterday prior to him making this announcement about being no on Build Back Better, and Senator Manchin did not return his call. Now, sources are saying this. We don't have this confirmed, but that's pretty interesting, right? They were trying to negotiate this whole thing. President Biden, in good faith, was negotiating with Senator Manchin, and you would think Senator Manchin would at least go to the president and say, look, I'm a no, and I am going to put this out. But it looks like that is not the case. It looks like Senator Manchin's trying to avoid the president at this point. So let's go ahead and play Bernie Sanders here talking a little bit about this Build Back Better. Here we go.
Exclusively to react, the man managing the legislation, Senate Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders of Vermont. So Senator Sanders, Chairman Sanders, Senator Manchin says he can't get there. This is a no. He's tried everything. What's your reaction?
Well, I think he's going to have a lot of explaining to do to the people of West Virginia to tell them why he doesn't have the guts to take on the drug companies and lower the cost of prescription drugs, why he is not prepared to expand home health care. West Virginia is one of the poorest states in this country. You got elderly people and disabled people who would like to stay at home or forced into nursing homes. He's going to have to tell the people of West Virginia why he doesn't want to expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing, and eyeglasses. I've been to West Virginia a number of times, and it's a great state, beautiful people, but it is a state that is struggling. And he's going to have to tell the people of West Virginia why he's rejecting what the scientists of the world are telling us, that we have to act boldly and transform our energy system to protect future generations from the devastation of climate change. You know, what's going on now, Jake, in Washington is the big money interests are pouring hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to make sure that we continue to pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, that the rich do not start paying their fair share of taxes. And I would have hoped that we could have had at least 50 Democrats on board who have the guts to stand up for working families and take on the lobbyists and the powerful special interests. We have no Republican support. Now, one Republican in the United States Senate, or the House for that matter, is prepared to stand up to the drug companies or the insurance companies or the wealthy. I would hope we would have had 50 Democrats. But if that is the case, then I hope that we will bring a strong bill to the floor of the Senate as soon as we can and let Mr. Manchin explain to the people of West Virginia why he doesn't have the guts to stand up to powerful special interests.
Oh, so you want?
So this is probably the next move. It sounds like what they want to do, or at least what Senator Bernie Sanders wants to do, is he wants to bring it to the floor. And so just create the Build Back Better bill, bring it to the floor, and have Senator Manchin vote no. And that way he'll be on record voting no. And that way West Virginians will see the fact that prescription drugs will continue to rise, and other issues of Medicare expansion, all this other stuff that we know that's in Build Back Better. He's going to have to vote no on it. And if he votes no on it, then he's going to have to answer to West Virginians. And that's kind of what Senator Bernie Sanders wants to do, because right now it's all talk. They're just going back and forth, and there's no vote. So once that vote happens and you vote against it, That's a whole different situation than saying that you're against certain things, because you can always kind of skate around those things. I can say that I'm against something. I can say I'm against the child tax credit because it's not targeted enough. Okay, well, what does targeted enough mean? What does that mean to you? But you never have to explain it. You can just say that that's the reason why you don't want to support it. And so if you have to vote no on something, if it's Medicare expansion or the child tax credit or the prescription drug, lowering the cost of prescription drugs, those things will be detailed in the bill. So we'll know exactly child tax credit. This is who qualifies. The Medicare expansion, this is what will be in it. So that's what you'll be voting no against. There's no way to skate around it. It's a yes or no vote. So that'll be interesting to see if they do this in the coming months. And I'm thinking President Biden might really be for doing that, just because of the fact that he kind of got snubbed by Senator Manchin not wanting to contact him back after he reached out to him yesterday.
Want to vote on it no matter what, even if...
Absolutely. The American people have got to understand what is at stake. For decades now, what Congress has been doing, giving tax breaks to the rich, not standing up to the drug companies, so that we end up paying the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, ignoring climate change. The President of the United States and almost every Democrat is trying finally to address these issues.
Did you know this was coming?
Mr. Manchin doesn't want to support us. Well, look, we've been dealing with Mr. Manchin for month after month after month. But if he doesn't have the courage to do the right thing for the working families of West Virginia and America, let him vote no in front of the whole world.
So how do you tell somebody out there watching, wondering, how come you couldn't get Joe Manchin on board?
Well, as I've indicated, we're taking on not just Joe Manchin, we're taking on, do you know how much money the pharmaceutical industry has spent in the last year on lobbying alone? Over $300 million, plus campaign contributions, plus all kinds of advertising. Fossil fuel industry is spending a fortune. Let's not kid ourselves. We have a corrupt political system dominated by big money interests. And finally, some of us are saying, let's stand up for working families. Average worker has not seen a pay raise in inflation accounted for dollars in 45 years, while the rich are becoming phenomenally richer. Corporate profits are at an all-time high. And what some of us are saying, maybe, we'll stand up for working families for a change. But apparently we don't have the 50 votes that we need. And I think we take that message right into the 2022 campaigns. Which party, with the exception maybe of one or two people, which party is prepared to do the right things for the elderly, for the children? And by the way, we talk about kids. I want everybody out there to know, if Mr. Manchin votes no, those $300 tax credits that have gone a long way to reducing childhood poverty in America, they're gone. That's over. We cut childhood poverty by over 40%, an extraordinary accomplishment. Manchin doesn't want to do that. Tell that to the struggling families of West Virginia and America.
So you're suggesting he doesn't have the guts to stand up for working families and to take on the moneyed interests. If Senator Manchin were here, he would say, my state is a state that voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. What I'm doing in going after and opposing this legislation will be popular. And Manchin has said he thinks all this money, he's saying all this money is going to make inflation worse.
Well, let me talk about it. Joe Manchin voted for a huge increase in military spending. Manchin voted for an infrastructure bill, which added $250 billion to the deficit. The truth of the matter is that if you look at the military budget, $770 billion, times that by 10 years, it is 4 times higher than what the Build Back Better plan is. Now, Mr. Manchin says he's representing the people of West Virginia. Okay, why don't you do a poll? It's CNN, do a poll, and you ask the people of West Virginia whether or not they want to lower the cost of prescription drugs. You ask them whether they want to expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing, and eyeglasses. You ask them whether they want to continue the $300 payment to help working parents in these very difficult times bring up their kids with dignity. Ask them if they want to deal with climate change. On all of those issues, I suspect people of West Virginia, like every other state in this country, will say, yes, do the right thing for working families. And I challenge. I told Manchin, by the way, I'll pay for the damn poll in West Virginia. on those issues. See how the people of West Virginia feel.
Is there a strategy forward? Is there a way to pass parts of this legislation piecemeal, assuming that you do bring it forward for a vote and assuming Joe Manchin is one of 51 who vote against it?
Well, the problem that we have is that obviously you need 60 votes. We have no support from Republicans to pass standing legislation. So it has to be done through reconciliation. So I haven't thought about that yet.
But the only other option is tackling the filibuster. So if they can work on figuring out a way to get rid of the filibuster, well, then you don't have to have those 60 votes in order to move forward with the approving a bill. So that's something that they're going to be talking about as well, the whole filibuster issue.
But all I do know is that the dividing line in this country is going to be very clear. On one side of the equation, you're going to have Republicans, I suspect Mr. Manchin, who say, yeah, it's okay. We don't have to deal with the fact that billionaires, in some cases, don't pay a nickel in federal taxes. We don't have to deal with climate change. We don't have to deal with childhood poverty. We don't have to deal with the high cost of prescription drugs. And on the other side will be those who say, yeah, we do. And that tells me that we need a lot more than 50 Democrats in the United States Senate.
So there was this deal making that went on before this because there was the bipartisan infrastructure deal that the Biden administration wanted, and so did moderates and Democrats and also some Republicans. And then there was the Build Back Better Act, and progressives they wanted them both passed in tandem. You wanted them passed in tandem, and then there was this agreement, pass infrastructure, and then we'll get to Build Back Better. And President Biden said he would get the 50 votes. So in retrospect, was it a mistake to do that deal?
I think it was a huge mistake. Well, let's hear what Senator Sanders says.
Well, the people, and people in the House who said that they have to go in tandem for precisely this reason, because we feared very much, not that we were against a strong infrastructure bill. I wanted that very, very much. But we understood that if we didn't keep it together, there would be those who would pass the infrastructure bill and not deal with the needs of the working class and the middle class of this country. That was the fear. That fear, if Manchin continues along this path, turned out to be justified.
So, and Senator Manchin is opposed getting rid of the filibuster, which is something a lot of progressives want to do. So it only takes 51 votes instead of 60 to pass legislation. So what's your message to the millions of Americans who were hoping for the enhanced child tax credit extension, new child care programs, health care subsidies, paid family leave, environmental measures, et cetera? Is the Biden agenda dead?
Well, let me say this also when you talk about getting rid of the filibuster. On top of all of that, Jake, we have the issue of protecting American democracy and stop what Republican governors and legislatures are doing all over this country. And that is denying people of color, people with disabilities, young people, older people, the right to participate in our democracy. What is terribly important is that we pass the voting rights bill we have been discussing for a number of months now, to say that states all over this country cannot deny people the right to vote. Yeah. Trump has propagated this big lie, and a lot of governors and legislators have picked it up and are really now trying very hard to suppress the vote, go forward with extreme gerrymandering, and we're going to need 50 votes to do that. And if Manchin does not want to do that, then what he's really saying to the American people, that's okay. Democracy and the preservation of the foundations of American democracy, the right of one person, one vote, that's not very important. I don't know where he's coming from on that, but that would be a tragedy as well.
So that was Senator Bernie Sanders, his reaction to Senator Manchin's no vote for Build Back Better. And I don't know where we're going to go from here. I ask that you guys subscribe and hit that little bell notification. I do daily videos, and I'll keep you up to date when it comes to this. But this is pretty crazy, because I don't know if Build Back Better will survive. I don't know if it'll survive this. I think the only other option is for them to do piecemeal and have separate bills. But the only problem with that is they were trying to do this through reconciliation. And so they would have to do something about the filibuster in order to allow for them to do the piecemeal bills. But I think the only other thing that I can see, like Senator Bernie Sanders was saying, bring it to the floor, find out who's yes and who's no, and then go from there. And at least they'll be on record saying that they're against some of these things. And there are a lot of good things in Build Back Better, a lot of things that will help Americans. And it's just unfortunate that you do have Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema kind of out there in opposition and not really offering any alternatives. I don't see Senator Manchin. I see him talking about different things that he's against, but I don't hear him putting out a plan, or I don't see him putting out a plan that is something that all Democrats can come along with him on. So it's just it's just a lot of talk. So I would like to see the vote. I would like to see the vote and see who votes against it. And that's a start. And then from there, they're going to have to figure out how to do something in 2022. Because if Democrats can't get any legislation through in 2022, they're not going to maintain power. They're going to lose the House. They're going to lose the Senate. And then we'll be really in a situation where you have the President Biden, and you have the House belonging to the Republicans and the Senate belonging to the Republicans, and nothing. When I say nothing, I mean absolutely nothing will get done for the next 2 years after that. So we're looking 2024 before we could see a change. So this is really, really probably the last big legislation that we'll see go through, if they can find a way to get it through. But something has to be done in 2022, or it's going to be game over for the Democrats. I want to know what you guys think about this whole thing, so let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.